أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله آل الله واللعنة الدائمة على عداوتهم أعداء الله من يوم عداوتهم إلى يوم لقاء الله أما بعد قال أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام فإني أوصيك بتقوى الله أي بني واللزم أمره. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the merciful. First of all, we are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that in this era of pandemic, where many of our friends and acquaintances who were there with us last year in the month of Ramadan are not present with us and have done their final journey towards their Lord because of this pandemic. We are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given us one more opportunity in this month of Ramadan, and specifically seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do repentance, and then Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa alihi alillah wa la'anatu da'imatu ala adawatihim a'da'illah min yawmi adawatihim ila yawmi liqa'illah. Amma ba'd qala Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam فإني أوصيك بتقوى الله أي بني واللزم أمره. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the merciful. First of all, we are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that in this era of pandemic, where many of our friends and acquaintances who were there with us last year in the month of Ramadan are not present with us and have done their final journey towards their Lord because of this pandemic. We are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given us one more opportunity in this month of Ramadan, and specifically during the nights of Qadr, where we have this opportunity to seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do repentance, and then once again purify ourselves and achieve that qurb of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These nights also coincide with the shahadat, martyrdom of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Today is 19th of Ramadan. Last night was a night on which Amir al-Mu'mineen was attacked by the Shaqi ibn Muljim, and the entire followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen are in the state of mourning, specifically for the next few days. Hence, during these nights, as you brothers and sisters of Tanzania have requested me to deliver these few lectures, despite of a very busy schedule I have with some other responsibilities related to some media and education work which is going on, I've thought let me still try to spend some time and deliver what I can do during these nights for you brothers and sisters. The subject which I have decided to talk on these in these nights is related to Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, which is his last testament, his last Wassiya, which he has written to his son, narrated to his son Imam Hassan alayhi salam, as per authentic sources. He wrote this letter, as per the references available, was when he was returning on his way back from Siffin, and at one location where they halted, Amir al-Mu'mineen wrote this letter to his son. It's a very interesting letter, a lot of learning inside it, and one approach is to go phrase by phrase and try to understand what he says. Another approach is to take a topical analysis of this testament. I will take a topical analysis over here, considering the limitation on time also which is there with us. Hence, I would take few topics out of this testament and try to cover them every night, maybe a different topic, or some topics might continue over 1 or 2 or 3 nights. It depends how it proceeds. One important point which we need to remember over here is specifically when we talk about Wassiya, which is the last testament or the last will which someone writes. First of all, we don't have a practice to do Wassiya that much, to write a will, which is highly recommended in Islam to do. And we can see there is no more evidence required other than this itself, that Amir al-Mu'mineen is also writing his last will over here to his son. We all very strongly believe in inheritance and will. The issue of will comes to us specifically when there is an issue of inheritance, which is irs. When someone dies, he leaves some property, some wealth or something, and then the children and the family members are after that. How to divide that, how to distribute that. That is where we think and talk about Wassiya. Oh, what did the deceased person mention about this, about that, about this factory, about this business, about this, about that. If you refer to the Quran about Wassiya, very beautifully Quran says in Surah Baqarah, ayah number 180, that Kutiba alaykum iza hazara ahadakumul maut in taraka khayran wasiyatu lil walidain wal aqrabin bil ma'ruf haqqan alal muttaqin. He says, it is bequest, a will is prescribed for you when death approaches one of you. So the testament, the Wassiya, is very highly related to death. When death comes, and there is another condition, if that is met, if he leaves behind wealth for parents and near relatives, according to a usage, a person should write a will. And this is a wajib, haqqan alal muttaqin, for muttaqin, for those who possess taqwa. Hence, a person who is muttaqi would do a last will, and this last will might talk about inheritance only if he leaves something. Somehow we have this misconception that we should always leave something for our children in terms of materialistic wealth, so that they can inherit our houses, our property and our businesses and those things. It's not like that Islam is recommending or giving sawab for someone to leave wealth behind for their generation and for their children. Islamic system is distribution, spending, infaq. Islam wants you to earn and spend in the way of Allah. Islam wants you to spend in the way of empowering the ummah. Distribute the wealth, not accumulate the wealth. But if you have accumulated and you have access and you are dying, then before death, you make a will so that proper allocations are there with Islamic guidelines for one reason. What is that reason? That reason is to avoid disputes and conflicts within family members. فَمَنْ بَدَّلُهُ بَعْدَمَا سَمِعُوا فَإِنَّمَا إِسْمَهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ يُضَلُّونَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Whoever then alters the will which someone has written before death about distribution of property, the sin of it then is only upon those who alter it. Hence, it's very clear that alteration or not abiding by the last will or inheritance someone has written creates corruption, disputes, and Islam wants a peaceful environment among people, among believers. They should not be fighting for worldly gains. They should not be fighting for worldly powers or worldly materialistic gains or property and estate. And this is where inheritance comes up. Wassiya, on the hand, will, is not just related to inheritance. As we can see in this enlightened sermon of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, that his Wassiya doesn't talks about any wealth. What am I leaving for my children in terms of materialistic gains? He talks about something different. We don't do Wassiya like this. Our Wassiya is about inheritance. It's all about how much property I am leaving, who should have what shares and these kind of things. It's not about what Amir al-Mu'mineen is writing over here. Not on those lines over here. Hence, when we are pondering over the Wassiya of the last will of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, we get a new picture, a new dimension of what Ali ibn Abi Talib looks at it, from what perspective, what should be the Wassiya. Hence, let me just briefly start with the introductory part of this Wassiya, that how Amir al-Mu'mineen introduces his last will, which itself carries a deep meaning inside. He says, minal walid al-fani al-muqarrar al-zaman. This will is from the father who is shortly to die, al-mudbir al-umur, who acknowledges the hardships of the times and who has planned the affairs of his life, who has submitted himself to the calamities of time, who realizes the evils of the world, who is living in the abodes of the dead and is due to depart from them any day. This is how Amir al-Mu'mineen introduces himself as the addresser of this will. The one who is writing the will, Ali ibn Abi Talib, is the addresser. How he introduces himself, how he creates a profile. Like today, we go on social media, we go on LinkedIn, we go on Facebook, Instagram, we have to create a profile. Talk about yourself. Who are you? What are your qualifications? What do you want to say about yourself? What is your profile? When Amir al-Mu'mineen introduces his profile to his son, what is his profile? First thing he says is, I am that father who is about to die, who is shortly going to die. First thing which Ali remembers in his profile is death. Then he says, one who acknowledges the hardships of the time. Muqarrar al-zaman. Every era brings with itself hardships. Every era. Today we are living in an era, in last 2 years, last 1 year now, the biggest hardship in the world is the pandemic. Then there are many other hardships. If you go to Yemen, if you go to Kashmir, if you go to Palestine, you see the hardships they are facing. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, I acknowledge the hardships of the times. It's not that I am ignorant about the hardships of the time. This is my profile. Then one who has planned the affairs of his life. Hardships are going to come. But I am the one who has planned the umur of his life in accordance with the hardships of the era. And then the one who has submitted himself to the calamities of the time. Al-Mustaslim al-Dahr, the era, the time. I have submitted myself. It's not that I am complaining, I have given up. No. I know these are calamities of the time and I have to live with this. We cannot be sitting inside our homes and say, oh, pandemic, corona, COVID-19, we should not do anything, just stay inside, secluded inside the home, don't go outside. No. We have to submit to the calamities of the time. But we have to then plan our affairs. This is what Amir al-Mu'mineen said, this is my profile. And then, Az-Za'am ad-Dunya, the Za'am, the reigns, the evil reigns of the world. The evils of the world, I realize these things. Ali says, my profile is, I realize the evils of the world. And then, one who is living in the abodes of the dead and is due to depart from them any day. I'm living amongst dead people. This is the house of Fane. This is the house of death. Everyone has to die. And one day I will also die and leave this world. So if you look at the axis of Amir al-Mu'mineen's Wassiya, is about death and it's about the world. It's about the life, the worldly life, and it's about death, about which Ali ibn Abi Talib wants to warn his son, Hassan ibn Ali. Now, this was about the addresser. Now let's come to the addressee also. How he introduces the addressee. Amir al-Mu'mineen is presenting two profiles over here. One profile is the one of a person, Insan Kamil, Ali ibn Abi Talib, who has learned and who has gained the experience from this world and now he's about to depart this world. That's his profile. And the addressee is another profile which Amir al-Mu'mineen is creating over here. The profile of an ordinary person like us. What he says, this Wassiya of mine is for whom? Is for ila mawludil mu'malin ma'ala yudraku. This Wassiya of mine is to the son who yearns for what is not to be achieved. He says, it's for the son. Now, son is Hassan ibn Abi Talib, is a misdaq. Amir al-Mu'mineen is giving general guidelines over here. General guidelines over here. That to that person who yearns for what is not to be achieved, that is again this world, who is treading the path of those who have died. We all are treading the path of those who have died. Who is a victim of sicknesses and ailments, who is entangled in the worries of the days, who is a target of hardships. This is the profile of an ordinary person, a believer today in this world, fresh today. All of us, if you look into this, we are yearning for things which cannot be achieved in this world. We are treading the path of those who have died. We are all moving towards death. We are all victims of ailments. We become sick every day, and now we have biggest sickness and diseases around us. All of us are entangled in the worries of the days. Every day comes with us with new tension, new worries, new stress. And we are all targets of hardships. And then he says, to the one who is a slave of world, abdid dunya. We all are slaves of the world. We all in some or the other form are worshipping the world. We in some of the other form are listening to the commands of this dunya. A trader of its deception. We are trading with the deception of this world. This world is deceiving us. Today you see social media. Social media is full of deception. Full of deception. We want to post selfies. We want people to like us. We want people to forward. We want people. It's populism. We just want to become popular in the eyes of people, whereas we forget whether we are popular in the eyes of our Creator or not. This is a deception, and we are trading in this deception. A debtor of wishes, those wishes which are not fulfilled, a prisoner of mortality. We are all captive of mortality, an ally of worries. We are friends, companions to worries, a neighbor of grief. Grief is next door to us. Today we can see, we can get news very closely. So-and-so suffered from corona, so-and-so suffered from COVID-19, so-and-so passed away. Yesterday I was looking in the news. One news journalist of India, Rohit Sardana, he passed away due to COVID-19. He was Zee News anchor. He has insulted, few years back, he did a very brutal sacrilege of Lady Fatimatu Zahra, Lady Maryam Salamullah Alayhi, and Lady Aisha. He insulted them publicly on the news channel, and within few years now he has passed away out of COVID-19 and Corona. His colleagues have written some blogs and tweets that we never thought that death can come so close to us inside our studio. We never thought about it. We are all neighbor of griefs. Griefs is next door to us. A victim of distresses. This Wassiya of Ali is to one who has been overpowered by desires. We are all overpowered by desires. We follow our desires. We don't follow our aql. And one who is a successor of the dead. Means, oh my son, you are my successor. Wa khalifatil amwati. We are all successors of people who are dead. We are successors of our father, of our grandfathers, of our ancestors who are all dead. Amir al-Mu'mineen's Wassiya is a very beautiful piece of document which is about death and how to live a life which is moving towards that. And he creates two profiles over here. One is his own profile on what he has learned and what he has done. And second is a profile of an ordinary regular person, that where you stand and where you have to go, listen to what I am telling. Listen to the nasiya, the counseling which I am doing over here. Then he says, Amma Baad. He starts his Wassiya this way. Amma Baad. After addressing. فَإِنَّ فِيمَا تَبَيَّنَتُ مِنْ إِدْبَارِ الدُّنْيَا أَنِّي. Now you should know that what I have learned from the turning away of this world from me, the onslaught of time over me and the advancing of the next world towards me is enough to prevent me from remembering anyone except myself and from thinking beyond myself. Allahu Akbar. What is Ali saying over here? Ali says that what I have learned in this world, which has turned its face away from me, what atrocities the eras have got upon me, Ali says that I am that person whom, when the Holy Prophet ﷺ died, the entire world turned their face away from me. Entire world. These are the nights of Shahadat. Ali's grief and pain was this. The onslaught of time over me. For 25 years I was isolated. That was one era. And then in the 4 years after I became a Khalifa, see what people did to me, what time did to me. And the advancing of the next world towards me, at the same time being cautious that I am approaching death. A person who has gone through so many hardships. Ali is the most oppressed Imam. With so much oppression, with so much hardships. He says, under this situation, how can someone think beyond himself? How can someone think beyond himself? You know, example, take a simple example that you people are in Tanzania, mostly businessmen. When you do business, I also do business. Every day, some or the other stress is there. Goods have not received. Lockdowns are happening. Nowadays, lockdowns, shutdowns. Container not released from customs. Payments not received. We come under big stress. Business tensions. Earnings. Different types. And sometimes these tensions and stresses are so high that it goes on for days, weeks, months, and even years. And in this situation, we become so stressed that we don't think about anyone else. Even family wife is calling, oh, please don't call me later. I'm too tense. Our concentration is not in salat, in prayers, in ibadat, because we are so stressed and tensed. When a person is stressed out, when a person is under this much stress, we forget everything else. We are only concerned about our own problems. Ali ibn Abi Talib says that, Amir al-Mu'mineen says that, if I do not write this Wassiya to you, it is still justified, because the sufferings which I have faced, the atrocities which I have faced over last 30 years are so high that even if only I think about myself is enough. There is no need for me to think about anyone else. But he says, but when I confine myself to my own worries, leaving the worries of others, my aql, my intelligence saved me and protected me from my desires. وَسَرَافَنِّي an hawai. These were my desires, which were telling me, why should you be worried about others? And I wanted to confine myself to my own tension, to my own worries, to my own difficulties, to my own masayib, and leave the worries about others. My aql told me, no, this is lowliness, this is hawa, this is pasti, this is abrasiveness. This is not something expected from a person like Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's giving the reason that why I am doing this will, despite of so much I have suffered in my life. I should not be concerned about anyone else. But I am concerned about you, my son. Why I am concerned? when I confine to my own worries, why am I concerned? He says, logically speaking, I should not be concerned. But my aql guided me that no, a true human being is the one who is concerned more about others than himself. That's a true human being. Today, Amir al-Mu'mineen is telling that if it was justified for me to become selfish and not give any counseling to you, today we are selfish. We don't think about others. We're only thinking about ourselves. And this is where an aql kamil, an intellect, and a perfect intellect comes up and protects us from doing such things, from being unconcerned about the affairs of others. Today there is, like you see in the world, there are believers struggling. There is no oxygen, there are no medical equipments in many places. There is no food, there are no jobs. It's very difficult. We all run business, we know during this era of lockdowns and pandemic, people are not able to come to office, offices are closed, there is staff. What do? You pay them, you don't pay them. If you are concerned about others, you have to do at least little for everyone, so that everyone gets little. But I have seen in this era of selfishness, in this era of pandemic, there are people who are so selfish that when you want to do something for them, they want everything to be done the same way as it was done before. They don't realize that when times are tough, you need to share the little. You cannot have everything. You need to share whatever you get, the little, with others. And that's what Ali ibn Abi Talib says, my aql protected me from this lowliness. My aql clarified to me my affairs and led me to seriousness wherein there was no trickery and truth which was not tarnished by falsehood. My aql presented to me my affairs. Oh Ali, look at your affairs in the last 60 years. And that made me very serious. And I found there was everything, there were trickeries, and I found that I was very sincere. I was absolutely sincere in my affairs. And then, here, I found you a part of myself. Rather, I found you my whole, so much that so if anything befell you, it was as though it befell me. And if death came to you, it was as though it came to me. Consequently, your affairs meant to me what my own matters meant to me. فَآنَنِي مِنْ أَمْرِكَ مَا يُعْنَنِي مِنْ أَمْرِ نَفْسِي. Why am I writing this will? Because I have learned from the affairs of my life, and I consider you as myself. My matters, my affairs are just same. Your affairs and your matters are same to me, just mine. Wills and inheritances are done for those who are part of you, whom you believe are like you, whom you believe are following the same path, and you are sincerely concerned about their affairs to the extent that their affairs are your own. Then you do the righteous counseling to someone. Today, why our ulama, many of our ulama, do not do righteous counseling? Many of our ulama. Our ulama lack this sincerity in counseling. Amir al-Mu'mineen is presenting a principle of nasiha, principle of counseling. What is that principle? That when you counsel someone on any matter, think that it is your own matter. Think that it is your own matter. When you're counseling anyone on any matter. For example, someone comes to you and says, I want my son to be married to this. Maybe I have a daughter and I want her to get married to this particular boy. Can you give me some counseling how this boy is? What do you do at that time? You say, oh, that boy, his father is a good friend of mine. No, that boy is not good. But his father is a good friend of mine, so I should remain quiet over here. And you don't give the right counseling because of social reasons. But no. Here you should think in this way that it is my own daughter whom I am planning to get married. What will I do in this situation? Whether it is marriage, whether it is divorce, whether it is family affairs, whatever counseling is required, it has to be done with sincerity, and the principle is that you consider that matter, that affair as your own. Then only you can deliver the rights of counseling. And Amir al-Mu'mineen says, why I am writing this Wassiya? Because I consider your matters as my own. And then I believe it is my rights to guide you from what I have learnt. Our ulama lack this counseling. Like for example, COVID-19. Again, COVID-19. We have hospital. In that hospital, we have lack of equipment. Say we don't have ventilators. We don't have oxygen cylinders in those many numbers. Okay, fine. If you ask someone to donate, they say, okay, you can manage without ventilator. No, you can manage without these things. But this person or someone comes to me and says, this is a hospital and I need a ventilator, I need an oxygen concentrator or oxygen cylinders. I will say, oh, come on here, you can manage COVID-19, with immunity system and with isolation. Ventilator cases are only 2%, 3%. Why you want to invest 20, 30,000 euro on a ventilator and bring it? Think it this way when you're counseling someone, that what happens if I end up with COVID-19 and end up into this hospital? What will happen then? And when my breath is not coming out, what will I need at that time? When you look at things from this perspective, the counseling changes. The perception completely changes. Amir al-Mu'mineen is giving this principle of counseling over here. That when you counsel someone, when you do nasiha to someone, think that these are your own affairs. So I have written this piece of advice to you. فَكَتَبُ إِلَيْكَ كِتَابِ هَذَا مُسْتَحْزِرًا بِهِ إِنْ أَنَا بَقِيتُ لَكَ أَوْ فَنِيتُ. I have written this piece of advice as an instrument of seeking help through it. Something which will remain with you, whether I am alive for you or I don't exist. This will help you throughout. So a will, a Wassiya, is one that helps their inheritors in treading the same path. After treading the same path, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, even when I die, this is for when I am not going to be there with you, this will be an instrument which is going to help you, which is going to guide you in your day-to-day affairs, because I consider your affairs as my affairs. This is the level, type of guidance which we have to give to our generations. And it's very difficult for people to understand these things. Those ulama, those scholars who are either concerned about money, who are concerned about populism, that they don't want to spoil their name, who don't speak the truth, who don't guide the people in the right way, they don't do this kind of counseling. But if you make Ali ibn Abi Talib as your leader, as your imam, then look at, as a role model, as an uswa, then look at what Ali ibn Abi Talib is guiding and counseling to his son. The same kind of counseling has to be done by us to others also, those who are in this seat, in this chair of counseling, of giving nasiha. Today, the world is in a very, very drastic, very, very, I can say, very traumatic condition. You see in India what is happening on the COVID front, as well as against the 200 million Muslims in India, how they are suffering, what is happening to them and what is about to happen to them. Why Muslims are suffering in India? Why 200 million Muslims are living this life of humiliation and disgrace when their prophet is insulted publicly in press clubs or in media interviews? Quran is insulted. Openly they are challenged that we don't want Muslims in India, we'll kill you, we'll make another Rohingya. Why they are silent? Because the ulama have not done the right counseling to the Muslims on what is the right path which you have to follow. And if someone comes and does, they are after him. This is an issue. When you do counseling, when you do nasiha, and when you do Wassiya, the Wassiya should be meant for this purpose, as an instrument by which your generations can take help from it. This is the right inheritance which someone can do. We all need to assess ourselves. We all need to, in the nights of Laylatul Qadr. What are we leaving behind for our generations? What is that baqiya which we are leaving behind to our generations? Forget about documenting it as a will, as a testament. First look at what I have left for my generation, for my children, for my generation, for my community, for my ummah. What have I left for them? Hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars of funds which are coming through offices of Maraje and Rahbar and everyone. What is the baqiya which they have left behind for the generations? What? You see, today we as a community, in this crisis we don't have proper medical treatment facilities. We don't have our education systems. We don't have our proper schools. We don't have our own media. What is the baqiya? Only community centers with langar, with food, mosque, with iftar, with seher, with food, with biryani, with pilau. Only this. This is the baqiya. This is what we are leaving behind. What are we leaving behind to our generations? What is that baqiyatus salihin? What is that baqiya which is amal saleh, which is sawab jariyah? What are we leaving behind? A will, a Wassiya. Amir al-Mu'mineen is writing that what I am leaving behind for you, my son, which you should follow and solve your problems. What are we leaving for our generations by which that becomes an instrument to solve the problems of their generations? Nothing. We are always lagging behind. We always want to be followers. We don't want to be mujtahid. To do, think, research, do things and come out with that baqiya for our generations. Today everything is online. So we sit on YouTube, we sit on Facebook, we sit on WhatsApp. Everything in the hands of our enemies. We have seen recently what is happening in Iran now. After Amir al-Mu'mineen's will, the last testament which Amir al-Mu'mineen has written, there is one more such beautiful piece of document which was written by a non-infallible Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayhi. If you read the last will of Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayhi, it's the same lines of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He is leaving that guidance, that counseling for his ummah to follow so that they can solve their problem. But unfortunately, the Iranian nation did not follow the will of Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayhi. And you can see what has happened today. The recent leaks of Jawad Zarif, a 7 hours interview which exposes the filth which is going on inside the system today. The infiltration which has taken, if you remember in the last lecture which I did on Mohsin Fakhrizadeh, I talked about the 5th column. Now you can see the 5th column very clearly, very explicitly, where a 3 hours tape has been released by BBC, 7 hours tape, 3 hours release. The remaining 4 hours when they come you will see, it's not just Jawad Zarif, you will see other big names coming up over there and talking about those things. And I will talk about this thing more later on when we go further. Imam Khomeini in his will mentioned very clearly that you should never befriend America, never be a friend to America. What did the Iranians do? When their leader, the only person who wanted and who tried to follow the path of Imam Khomeini was Rahbar. But just like Amir al-Mu'mineen suffered, this leader also is suffering. No one is listening to him. Imam Khomeini said, do not befriend America, do not trust America. They went and did a JCPO deal. Then what happened? And now again they want to do the same deal. Diplomacy. And see what is happening. The entire system, the revolutionary system is on the verge of collapse. I'll talk about these things. Who killed Qasim Soleimani? Who were involved in the killing of Qasim Soleimani? Who was Mohsin Fakhrizadeh? To what level was the infiltration inside? All this happened because people do not follow the guidance, the counseling which elders and leaders like Imam Khomeini Rahmatullah has given to them. And people like us sitting across the world do not follow the guidance and the counseling which Ali ibn Abi Talib has given us in his last testament. We think that this will was only for Imam Hassan. Imam Hassan was a masoom and infallible. But Amir al-Mu'mineen still delivered this duty. And this became a piece or a testament, a manifesto for us to take guidance and counseling from this. This is something which we need to ponder over here. He says, I have written this piece of advice to you. فَكَتَبَتُ إِلَيْكَ كِتَابِ هَذَا مُسْتَحْزِرًا بِهِ إِنْ أَنَا بَقِيتُ لَكَ أَوْ فَنِيتُ. So that you can take help through it. Imam Khomeini presented Jamhoor-e-Islami, Islamic Republic, as an interim government. The inheritors of Imam Khomeini came and transformed it into Jamhuriyat-e-Islami, Islamic democracy. This is a big crisis which is going on today in Iran. On the other hand, there is COVID-19 crisis. We are living in the most tough era of crisis. 2021 is a very tough era of crisis. 2022 was tough. 2021 is more tougher now. And Allah knows what is going to happen in 2022. The world will not come out of this crisis unless we, people, the Ummah, takes the right counseling and follows that right path. Hence, this topic of Wasiyat of Amir al-Mu'mineen carries a very high significance in this era, where we need to ponder over each and every word in this testament, the guidance which Ali ibn Abi Talib is giving. We'll try to take some parts of it, not everything, some parts of it, and try to see where we can reach. At the same time, in these few nights which are coming up now, tomorrow is the night of Shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, I'll talk something which is specific from the Wassiya itself and also its links to the life of Ali ibn Abi Talib more, so that we can feel, we can also try to feel, we cannot feel the pain of Ali. We can try to feel that in what situation Ali ibn Abi Talib is giving this counseling after returning from Siffin. What happened in Siffin was Ali was tragic. A lost battle, a battle that was won but lost. How? Because of foolishness, because of treachery, because of deception, because of simpletons, because of those who were not ready to listen to Ali. Those who were not ready to listen to him. When people don't listen to Ali, Ali loses the battle to Muawiyah. Ali loses his kill. Ali loses his life eventually. So today, if we are not listening to Ali ibn Abi Talib's counseling, then Ali and his sons are also going to lose the battle. Don't think that because we follow the right religion, we will win. No. We have to follow the right religion. Then only we can win. Just by believing in the right religion, we cannot win every battle. We all across the world, the believers, the Muslim Ummah, are in a state of war. 200 million Muslims in India are in a state of war, but they don't realize that they are in a state of war. They don't realize. And I'll talk in one of the sessions, I'll talk more details about what is happening in India very closely, specifically when we come near to Yom al-Quds. I'll talk about that over there. Hence, in these nights which are coming up now of Laylatul Qadr, we need to really ponder inside and outside as to what is happening with this world and what is happening inside us now and what is our responsibility in this situation. Everyone is going through a tough time. You cannot say that one part of the world is good and one part of the world is not good. No, every one of us is going through a tough time. But we all need to come together, join our ranks, and come out and fight this situation. And that happens with the right counseling, right guidance, which is coming from Quran, which is coming from these testaments like Amir al-Mu'mineen's last will. Inshallah, we'll continue on this and talk about certain dimensions of this Wassiya in subsequent sessions. We'll take this forward. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. If there are any questions, because of internet problems, this lecture, I do it before the time in the studio and I release it, but I'm available live immediately after this lecture for any question and answers. So on the same stream, you can get question and answer sessions, and we can, I can spend some time to answer the questions, except for the night of 21st and 23rd, where I won't be available for any question and answers session, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.